So over the summer, I had a bit of an issue at my house. I had a wasp nest grew up underneath the stucco close to my front door, and there's nothing you can do to get him out of there. Lots of activity, so it didn't feel like getting stung too much, and anybody that came to the front door was at risk also. So I had to come up with something to hopefully get rid of a lot of the wasps, and then finish them off somehow. So here's what I came up with: my big wasp zapper. It works kind of the same way as those electric fly swatters, but this definitely has more horsepower. So to make this thing work, you need a few electrical components. It doesn't take much though. You can start with a battery. This one's 12 volts. You can use a car battery if you wanted to. You can use all kinds of batteries. You don't even need 12 volts. Like a 6-volt battery would be fine. This is like way huge. You know, it doesn't take much to make this thing work. You're only going to be using 2 volts in the end anyways. So from the battery, or you could even probably use a wall wart. This is like this one's 12 volts, for example. You can use that instead of a battery if you're close to the phone. From the battery, it'll go into a adjustable voltage regulator. You can adjust this one by turning that little screw right there. Here's an example of a regulator on eBay. This one's slightly different, but there's a large knob so it's easy to adjust, and it can handle a little bit more current. So you power and ground into those terminals, and then you adjust it down to 2 volts is where it works the best. From out, it goes into the high voltage module. This is what makes the power jump up and be able to actually create a spark. So those will go into there, and these will go into the grid. This is the one I actually used in the project there, so that's why it's all dirty. This is just plain old copper solid wire. There's nothing to it. It's just pieces soldered together. You can do whatever shape or size you want. Just make sure it's got a good gap in between each one, and nothing's touching, obviously. I've got some little hooks in the ends there, just so you can make it easier to zip tie it onto the cardboard box. But that's it. These say they can handle up to 6 volts input, but if you leave it at 6 volts hooked up to this, it'll burn itself out. So I turned it all the way down to 2 volts and 1.9 sometimes, and that's where I found it worked the best. It would still create sparks when anything flew through the middle there, and then this will sit there all day long at 2 volts and not cook itself. Just make sure you adjust it down before you start. Turn it all the way down. That's it. Nothing else to it. Here's the grid. So now I just had to make them fly through the grid. Easiest way to do that is cut up a cardboard box like this. The open side is where they'll fly through, where the nest is, and fly through the grid to get out and back in. All right, ready to go here. So the first time I laid it down here, it worked out pretty good. I put the grid on top. I wasn't really sure, but then I end up changing it so the grid is pointing to the side out front. You can hear the popping. Each pop is a... Oh, they're pissed. So I turn it around and I put the grid facing out the front so they can fly through it more naturally. The extra pieces of wood around were just to cover the holes in so it would seal better against the house. But as you can see, it's been working. So I used the little machine here over a few days. I only had it turned on for a few hours here and there. And here's the ground after I removed the box. I think I got probably 90 to 95% of the colony. I did use some spray in the very end to finish them off, and that's all it took. Well, there you have it. Simple, easy project. Thanks for watching, and feel free to ask me questions down in the comments.